Welcome. Scott here. Today I am bringing you another Black Clover mobile video. In this video, I will be covering on the upcoming story Mage, Grey from the Black Bulls. In general, Grey is a Harmony attribute type supporter. She is our second Harmony unit. She is an defensive buffer who grants immunity against continuous damage instances, or commonly known as damage over time or DOT. She can also duplicate active continuous damage instance on the enemy and offer magic convert for party that switches between defensive and offensive buffs when the mage is being attacked. Now let me give a quick summary on her kit. Grey's skill 1 is a single target attacking ability that grants an extra instance of continuous damage for every continuous damage instance present on the target when she deal the attack. Her skill 2 will grants the party a 60% chance of continuous damage instance immunity and 80% defense buff to any allies whose HP is below 100%. Her special grants an unique buff called Magic Convert A. It will switch between A and B when the unit is attacked. Magic Convert A offers defensive support while B offers offensive support. The skill also boosts Grey's mobility. Her combo attack will grants the partner mage a significant increased defense buff. Her enhancement passives revolves of using Grey in a mono 3 setup, in other words, Grey being paired with 3 mages of the same attribute. For example, you pair Grey with 3 mono red mages. This also works when pairing Grey with 3 mono blue or 3 mono green. If you set up Grey in a mono 3 setup, her LR passive will grant the party members damage over time immunity at the start of their turn. At LR plus 2, she will gains a SP plus 1 buff whenever she takes a turn. At LR plus 5, other than the self SP buff, she will inflict an additional dot instance for every dot instance that are present on all targets whenever she takes her turn. Let's says if the enemy has 2 stacks of burn and 1 stack of bleed. She will inflict another stack of burn and another stack of bleed when she takes her turn. This can be very deadly if you form a heavy continuous damage instances team comp with her. In general, Grey helps to support units that relies on continuous damage instances mechanics while negating effect of opposition's damage over time instances. As damage over time instances is prevalent in the current PvP meta, she will be an worthy mage to pull. However, if you are facing enemies that don't deal continuous damage instances or pair her with allies without continuous damage instances mechanics, her utility effectiveness will drop significantly. If you are planning to use her in mono 3 setup, she will ideally need her max enhancements. However, if you are planning to use her damage over time immunity support, having her at base level will be sufficient. If you want to progress to upper league in PvP, I would recommend you to get her to LR plus 2 for her SP refill so she can activate her special frequently. Her skill page is useful for her as it will grant passive healing for herself when the magic convert buff on her is being applied or converted. It will also allow her skill 2 to grant defense penetration buff to the party. For gear sets, the standard supporter mage gear sets work for her, which includes full set advanced speed set, along with the small magic attack piece with a defense piece from the advanced defense set. You can also make her tankier using the HP focused build. So should I pull for her? In my opinion, there isn't a general consensus on whether to pull for a unit. It really depends on whether you are a free to play or having a vast roster already. In general, she is a more PvP focused supporter mage. If you don't care for PvP and want to solely focus on PvE, you can totally skip her. If you have Swimsuit Gauche, you can skip her since he is a decent substitute for her. If you don't have use continuous damage instance immunity unit, you can bring continuous damage instances removal units like Party Mimosa, Clover Academy Noel or Swimsuit Charmy. Please do note that she is a story mage, so she will be available in the banner pool for future banners that are to be released. Before I proceed to talk about her kit, let me briefly explain the fundamentals of building a good team comp. In general, every good team comp needs a balanced set of characters playing their various roles. To be honest, bringing a full team of attacker mages won't get you to clear endgame content. Don't expect Grey to do a lot of damage with her skills. Her key utility is to support your continuous damage dealers while negate them for your party. To upgrade the skills, you need to use wool shards. Wool shards can be bought at the world regional shops monthly. If you upgrade your world reputation to level 2, you will unlock the option to buy the highest tier upgrade material. If you haven't done so, I will suggest you to start leveling up the reputation level by doing bond patrol or memory hall fights for that specific world. You can also get skills upgrade materials at your squad shop if you have joined a squad. You can buy them weekly with guild medals or monthly with guild raid coins. So try to level up and join a guild. If you have spending power, you can buy skills enhancement chests at the premium black crystal shop. Now let me go through her skill set. Throughout the guide, I will refer continuous damage instances as dot. Her skill 1 magic bullet is a single target attack which applies a new dot instance for every dot present on the enemy. Let's says if the enemy have 1 stack of burn, having her attack the enemy will apply another stack of burn. Here is another example. Let's says if the enemy has 2 stacks of burn, 1 stack of poison and 1 stack of bleed. When she deal the attack, she will applies an additional stack of burn, bleed and poison. Stacking dot will increase your off-turn damage and can be deadly if you reach 3 stacks for bleed, poison or electrocute. I will cover more on the dot mechanics enhancements in the subsequent slides. Her skill 2 please don't look too much. Is a non-attacking party support ability. It has a 60% chance of granting dot immunity buff for 2 turns. It will also grants any party member an 80% increased defense buff for a turn if their current HP is below 100% of their max HP. If you have her skill page, the ability will also grant defense penetration level 2 buff for 2 turns. Upgrading the skill to its max level will guarantee the trigger of dot immunity buff for the party. Her non-attacking magic convert is another AoE party support ability. Upon using the skill, Grey will gain a 10% increased mobility buff for herself. She will grant the party magic convert A buff for 2 turns. If any ally who is hit by an enemy, the buff will switch to magic convert B. Please do take note that switching will only applies once per turn. When any ally with magic convert B is being hit, it will revert back to magic convert A. In general, the buff will keep on switching between A and B until the buff lapses or gets reapplied with her special again. Magic Convert A offers defensive support, which will reduces damage by 45%. Magic Convert B offers offensive support, which will boost damage dealt by 30%. Upgrading the skill to max will improve Grey's mobility boost to 30%. Her combined attack is a single target attack with the partner Mage and grants her partner an increased defense level 4 buff. This is good when pairing with mages who loves defense buffs like Black Asta or Party William. If you are using her, most likely you want her to reliably block dot instances. So upgrading her skill 2 to max level should be your first priority. This is followed by her special. If you want to perform well in PvP, you might want to consider to invest in her skill 1 and combo attack as well. Depending on the enemy and battle situation that you facing, you will usually start off with either skill 2 or her special. Now let's cover on her skill page. Grey's skill page is skill page designed for her own kit. Her skill passive gives her a passive that allows her heal 2% of her max HP when she applies magic convert or magic convert buff gets converted. To convert magic convert, she needs to get hit. Upgrading the skill page will improves her passive heal up to the maximum 10%. Unless you have big spending power, I won't recommend you to chase too hard for dupes of the skill page. You can end up hurting your resources to pull for the upcoming units. If you want to be competitive in PvP, it is highly recommended to get her skill page. Defense penetration is very useful in handling tanky opposition teams. If you don't have her skill page, you can use other skill pages that boost her utility. For skill page replacement, you can use Sally's skill page to provide that awesome increased all attack buff, William skill page for a small passive heal, or using the SR Vanessa skill page to give damage resistance buff for the lowest HP ally. You can also use generic skill page like the Moonlight Necklace to boost her own defense. Now let's cover on her talents. To understand what is the best talent settings, you need to know what is the mage's primary role. Gray is a defensive supporter. For her attack talent wheel, I would suggest giving her increased battle frenzy and increased magic attack. Increased magic attack will increase her magic attack stats by 7%. For the other talent, battle frenzy will be the better option since it allows her to gain 2.5% increased critical rate buff that could stack up to 5 times. For the talent craved stone, I would suggest you give her the accuracy talent stone to boost her survivability. As her main role isn't to do damage, you can actually omit the whole wheel if you want. For the defense talent wheel, I recommend you to go for the endurance defensive talent, which gives her 4% defense and 2% critical resistance, up to 5 times per wave, along with increased defense that boost her defense by 20%. For the craved stone, you will want to give her the defense talent craved stone. In the support talent wheel, you will have a wide variety of options like one shown on the screen. Increased damage resistance will result Gray to improve her damage resistance by 10%. Mage Blessing allows her to have a 20% chance of cool down her skill 2. This will help a lot in ensuring Gray will be able to use her skill 2 more frequently for the dot immunity buff. It is worth noting that her skill 2 has a longer cooldown of 3 turns. You can also use Swiftness, which grants her a SP plus 1 buff upon having less than 2 SP at the start of her turn. This is good when you are not using any SP refiller mages with her in the party. Examples of SP refiller mages are Ceremony Charlotte, Valkyrie Armor Noelle, or Party Mimosa. I myself will generally use increased damage resistance and Mage Blessing for normal PvP, and damage resistance and Swiftness for world boss if you are not pairing her with any SP refiller mages. Since you will probably be using Gray often with Black Asta in Mono 3 or Fate of Thread Vanessa with Valkyrie Noelle team comp, who are able to apply total defense buff from their skill 2, you might want to consider using the combination of the resolution and accuracy plus penetration support talent passive to handle debuff heavy opposition PvP teams. As speed is an important stat for Gray to use her skills to apply dot immunity, it is highly recommended to max out her support talent wheel so you can engrave a speed stone. Now let's focus on her gear sets. Generally, you want to target for advanced gear sets pieces. For PvP, you want to use the full advanced speed set with the small attack and defense piece from the advanced defense set. Speed is important for PvP. If Gray don't have her turns to use her buffs, you will still get killed anyway. The set can be farmed at the Red Power Gear dungeon. You can also go with the full defense or HP set to make her tankier, but this gear set is recommended to use only if you using a speed supporter to get her turns to apply dot immunity, or using her in a Mono 3 team comp with her max enhancements. You can refer to the middle and gear set on the right for references. For substats, you should prioritize on defense percent, HP percent, critical resistance percent and damage resistance substats. If you previously build Black Asta gear but didn't build his critical rate and critical damage, those gear pieces can be used for Gray. You can also further boost her survivability by equipping her defense main stats accessories. You can also give her the advanced gear dungeon gear pieces like Snowfield Warrior gear pieces from Advanced Sense Gear Dungeon, or the Abandoned Friends gear pieces from the Gear Selection chest. You might be wondering why Gray is a highly sought after support unit. This is due to the upgrade of dot mechanics in the recent season updates. Popular PvP team comps always feature units that consistently inflict dot, like Mirioliana for Mono Green, Clover Academy Fuego Leon for Burn team comps, and Witch Queen with Party Costume Charmy for Mono Red. To handle dot mechanics, you can either bring dot immunity unit or dot removal unit. For dot immunity support, you can either use Gray or Swimsuit Gauche. Swimsuit Gauche is possibly the closest substitute that you can use if you don't plan on pulling for Gray. You can remove dot with dot remover units like Clover Academy Mimosa, Swimsuit Charmy or Party Mimosa. Both Swimsuit Charmy and Clover Academy Noel's dot removal utility are AoE while Party Mimosa is single target. On the screen, you can see the current key representatives that we have for each type of dot mechanics. For burn dot instances, the key units that can reliably apply burn are Party Costume Charmy, Ceremony Magna, Clover Academy Fuego Leon, Hateful Fauna, and Mirioliana. For Electrocute dot instances, we have Ceremony Luck at the moment. Party William can give Electrocute at the start of the wave if you have his LR passive, but I personally won't consider him as a dot unit. For Bleed, we have Yummy, Ceremony Yummy, Swimsuit Vanessa, Charlotte, Clover Academy Jack and much more. For Poison, we have Party Nozzle and Raids. There is a unit that can inflict more than one type of continuous damage instances, and that is our infamous Witch Queen. She can consistently inflict bleed on her skill 1 and special. Her skill 2 has a 50% chance of inflicting bleed, poison and burn. With Grey duplicate dot with her skill 1, pairing her with dot units will fully utilize her damage potential. Likewise, if your roster have limited dot units, you might want to consider going for Swimsuit Gauche instead of Grey. We should have more representative units that can reliably apply Electrocute and Poison dot in the future. In the last season update, the game mechanics have updated mechanics for Poison, Electrocute, and Bleed. On the table shown on the screen, you can see the effects and how the damage scales off the dot. Dot damage is applied when the inflicted unit takes its turn. Burn dot damage scales off the caster's magic attack and attack stats. Electrocute dot damage also have the same scaling mechanics. If you manage to get 3 stacks of Electrocute dot, you will get the upgraded Electrocute dot, which will drains the affected unit's SP by 8. Bleed dot damage scales of the caster's max HP. If you manage to get 3 stacks of Bleed dot, you will get the upgraded Bleed dot, which will apply HP recovery immunity for 2 turns. You probably would see this in effect in arena fights since Witch Queen is being used extensively. Poison dot scales off the affected unit's max HP. If you manage to get 3 stacks of Poison dot, you will get the upgraded Poison dot, which will reduce the unit's mobility gauge by 50% when the units take a turn. If the mobility doesn't maxed when the affected unit takes a turn, it will skip the unit's turn. This is very effective in doing turn denial strategies. With the implementation, you can see the rising value of dot immunity and dot removal units for PvP. There are still PvE endgame bosses fight that apply dot like Plechidna and Betelgeuse raid. So it is advisable to have at least a mage that can provide these utility. So what are the team comps that you can run with Grey? With the current roster of units, the best team comp to utilize Grey is probably the Mono 3 red team comp of Grey with Black Asta, Witch Queen, and Clover Academy Rill. Black Asta and Witch Queen will do their usual stuff. Witch Queen will be the team's core dot inflictor. Her combo attack helps Black Asta since it gives a significant defense boost. Rill will ensure that Grey will get the turns to apply her dot immunity with his mobility buffs. However, in order for this team to work, you most likely need to have Grey at max enhancements so you can take advantage of her LR enhancements passive. If you don't have Clover Academy Rill, you can substitute him with Red Yami for the bleed meta. But make sure you give Yami the abandoned friend gear pieces so he won't die on the first attack before he can do his stuff. This will requires heavy enchantment and investment in the gear to keep Yami alive. Level 125 Transcendence will make the job of running this team comp easier. On the Mono 3 team comp, I have added in 2 variants for Mono Green and Mono Blue. There isn't a lot of showcase of these team comps, but I believe that they should work in theory. If you don't plan to invest enhancements for Grey, you can use one of the no Mono 3 team comps that I show on the right of the screen. Grey will work even if you don't have any enhancement passives. But I would recommend you to get her to LR+2 if you want to be competitive for PvP for her SP refill economy, so you can abuse her magic convert mechanics. With this, I have come to the end of the video. If you like the video, please give a like. Please subscribe to the channel so that I can bring you more content in the future. Have a nice day and bye.